Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Quentin Tarantino Retrospective. We are the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad.
Yeah. Let's go. First try.
I am the groom, Travis Snell.
I am the Black Mamba, Dylan Muss.
And I am the bleep, Kirkland Patzer.
Good. If you haven't guessed by our
Redacted.
nickname or the title, we are reviewing Kill Bill today, and I think I actually have IMDb pulled up. No, I closed it.
You had it open.
I did, and
The
then
thought
I
was
closed
there.
it
About it.
Yeah.
to pull up some Saw news. That was great. Yeah, we're talking about Kill Bill Volume 1. Guys, tell them what other movies we've reviewed so far while I pull up the synopsis.
Well, we've gone in order. We've done Reservoir Dogs, followed by Pulp Fiction, followed by...
the shortest cast ever.
Oh my God, my
Jackie
man.
Brown.
Jackie Brown, yeah.
Yeah.
And then on Patreon, you'll find some other stuff early, such as Inglourious Bastards, such as Django Unchained.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're almost at the end. We only have
It's crazy.
3 more to film after this,
Yeah.
I guess. So
Yeah,
halfway
yeah.
there already.
Damn.
It's a quick retro.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So Kill Bill Volume 1, released 2003. After awakening from a 4-year coma, a former assassin wreaks vengeance on a team of assassins who betrayed her. Pretty simple, you know.
Always is.
Makes sense.
Always
Yeah,
is.
for a lot that happens in his movies. I'll start. I can't remember when I saw this last time. It's definitely not as long as Jackie Brown. I like this Tarantino movie a lot, and I guess I can't say I like Jackie Brown, but I mean, like, this one I enjoy, and I go back to. I think with Tarantino, you got 3 phases in his career. You got, like, the indie phase, so that's Dogs and Fiction, and then Jackie Brown's kind of this weird gray area, but still a little indie. And then in the back half, which we're going to get to later, is, like, the prestige films, like period pieces. He's going for those awards. He wants those Oscars.
Yeah.
This film, and then the next 2, Volume 2 and Death Proof, are definitely his experimental. He has an itch he needs to get, and I'm not saying that's bad, because I like both these movies and I like Death Proof a lot as well, but I think it's just, you can tell that also the studios have a lot of faith with him after Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, and even that Jackie Brown. I didn't look to see how it did, but I don't think it was a bomb or anything. So I think this is, now you see he's getting a budget, and he's kind of getting that cordon blanche to do whatever he wants, and that's what this is. And I think that helps it and hurts it a little bit. I think I guess for only Patreon people that know, because we reviewed some, but I think the only thing that hurts it for me sometimes is the violence is so over the top, which is weird, because sometimes the movie goes back and forth if it's like a deadly serious samurai like revenge tale, or if it's just completely over the top, and we'll get to that when we get to Django. But this one definitely lies a bunch more on the over the top, and I think that stuff is good. I think it just clashes sometimes, but overall, I really enjoy this film. I think it's just because Uma's so good. I think the other thing is, if you don't like this movie as much as other Tarantino movies, I could see why. It's not the overtopness. I think this is just this and Kill Bill Volume 2 a little bit. There's some good conversations with Bill, but it's very action oriented.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue, when the dialogue happens, it's good, but there's not many just sit down scenes or talking about either ideologies or something as a burger.
Well, often it's just her by herself, right?
Yeah, and it's all pretty to the point. Where is this person? I need a sword. Like, get me a ticket. Like, it's not so, like, I think there's, like, when she fights Ren and they do, like, tricks are for, silly rabbit tricks are for kids. Like, there's some fun dialogue, but I don't think there's anything that's too informative, like a Pulp Fiction. And informative is a loose term, because they're talking about, like, Royale cheese, but you get to learn a lot with those characters. With this, I don't think you actually do need to learn a lot, because it's a simple story. And my only con is, this is a negative one, but I've always never understood why Ren is first on the list and not second. I just feel, we talk about Pulp Fiction, you could start and end that movie the same, but in the middle you could do any order. This, it's always bugged me of, going into that battle, Ren, she wins, because Ren is crossed off the list after she goes. So it's always bugged me, why didn't he swap them? It's like such an easy thing. I think it's just him doing his kind of playing with time and whatnot. Yeah. So it's always bugged me a little bit, because it just gives, it's Volume 1, so we know she's going to win. But, still, like, gives away a little bit of that. But other than that, the action is great. It's a very, very unique film. Just the sound effects that are going on when people are fighting and the camera angles. It's a really cool. I think out of all his films, it probably relies the most on the cool factor. Maybe even more than Django. Soundtrack's good, but I think it's just, if you don't have someone as good as Uma Thurman there, it could be kind of a lackluster movie. But it's great, and I'm excited to talk about the stuff we want to talk about.
Yeah, me too, actually. This movie I saw for the first time last year, Volume 1 and 2. I remember seeing it all the time in the movie, not the movie theater, in like Blockbuster and stuff as a kid. Like, it was always one that it stood out on the shelf for me, but I never picked it up because, I was a kid when Blockbuster was around. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, I just never got around to it until last year. And So since then, my memory on it is kind of foggy because I watched 1 and 2 back to back. So I wasn't, in my head I couldn't really remember exactly where stuff happens, but I remember liking. I remember not maybe I don't want to say disappointed with the movies, but it was definitely like lower to me than like your Django's, your Inglourious Bastards, your Pulp Fiction. But then I also remember just watching it again a couple days ago that I liked Volume 1 a lot more than Volume 2. And, we'll dive into the depths of why that is in the second episode, I guess. But I actually really like Volume 1. On the second watch, I have a lot of fun with it. Yeah, it doesn't have as much of the dialogue stuff, but there's still a lot of great moments, really like great scenes that I think are just in there for like character building. Like I love the scene in the bar where she's just talking talking to the barkeep, and he's just like having this conversation with like his assistant, and they're just like really over the top, just like pointing at each other and like throwing stuff. And I think I like how cheesy this movie is. Like, because Tarantino has a lot of cheesy elements in his movies, but I wouldn't, other than like maybe Death Proof, which is kind of over the top as well. Maybe, to Travis's point of like kind of that middle phase. I think this movie's definitely over the top with the cheese, right? With the like sirens that go off, and as you're saying, like bleeping out the names, and just the over the top action, and we're just like characters are just jumping around more than is logical, but it just like fits within the context of the movie. So I think it's really, I like that cheesy factor of Tarantino's movies. So the fact that this is just kind of that, like really hammed up and not ashamed of it is really fun. And as Travis said, like Uma Thurman's fantastic in this movie. Like her journey is so interesting. I love like the anime sequence with O-Ren's backstory. Oh yeah, O-Ren's just a really, really good character. And I mean, I understand why like they could have just switched the names, but like it is like such a perfect finale to this movie, right? And like that whole sequence is like 40 minutes, so maybe like an hour of just like when she arrives at the dojo, the bar, whatever it is, and then by the time like she's done with that scene. So I love that whole sequence very much, and I think maybe like that was something that kept me interested in the whole first movie, because you get that backstory on O-Ren pretty early on in the movie, and then it isn't until like the very, very end where those two have the fight together. And I think that's what kept me so interested through all the stuff in there is looking forward to that, because I think there's a couple slower sequences where they're like talking about swords and just kind of sitting around. I like the initial scene with the barkeeper, but I think the rest of that maybe is a little slow pacing for me. But overall, I was really happy to watch this movie again, and I think it's definitely climbed up my rankings one or two for what I had in my head like starting this retro. I think it's already climbed up 1 or 2 spots just from watching it again. So I don't know. I'm really curious how Volume 2 is gonna wear on me when we get there, because I remember not being as high on that one. So
yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite Tarantino movies. I don't want to spoil my rankings or anything. Yeah. I want to leave it up for I don't know. So
plus we have an unknown variable in there with the new movie.
That is right. Are we ranking them all after?
Okay. I think after, yeah.
Okay, cool. That makes sense, I guess. Instead of just guessing where... oh, okay. But no, this movie, there's so many just random things that I love in this movie, like badass hot chicks just with swords and just kicking ass. So much gore and just over-the-topness. It's just so ridiculous at times, but at the same time, it just works. And like... especially just taking like the anime sequence, this entire movie, if you even take out that anime sequence, it feels like an anime movie. 100%. Like it is so over the top. The gore, them doing ridiculous like just like runs up walls and stuff. It's just like that doesn't really make sense.
Splits the man in half.
At
one point.
Oh yeah, totally. It's so like anime like, and I feel like maybe that's why I like it a lot. There's a lot of things that are just questionable, like when she gets to Japan and then all of a sudden she has like a matching suit to her bike, and it's just like, okay, I guess she just got that at the thrift store. I'm down. Yeah. So let's just rock it. And I just love that stuff. And but no, it's just I'm almost ready to just jump in the meat and potatoes here. I'm just loving this movie.
You've been ready for this one.
Oh yeah,
since the first like episode.
Yeah, my dad showed me this movie years upon years ago, and I was so confused watching it the first time, because it's just like
story wise, you mean, or just like you've never seen a movie like quite like this? I think
story wise, and like I'm watching it, and then she says her name and it bleeps, and I'm like, what just happened? And I feel like it was probably one of my first Tarantino movies, so I didn't really understand that style, just like weird things like that on. Just like the nurse with the eye patch, and I'm like she seems like a really like scary character, and there's just a lot of just unknowns when I first watched it. But the more and more I watch it, I just love this movie more and more, and I love the soundtrack. It's so good, and yeah, Uma Thurman, she's just great in it. She's such a perfect like lead for this movie. I really can't picture anyone else taking it. So yeah, let's get into it.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know where do you guys want to start on this one? I think one thing I think they do a good job of is like making the character kind of mysterious. And I noticed on the second watch, in that opening scene, the very opening scene where Bill is kind of talking down, and once again it's a classic Tarantino where it's zoomed in on another character's face while a separate character talks. Almost kind of like Marcellus Wallace, where you have like a kind of imposing character that you don't really get to see the face of immediately. I didn't notice until the second watch, obviously, that he says kiddo in there, which is, I mean, spoiler if you haven't seen part 2, but that is part of her name. That's just like a classic kind of nickname that someone would give to anyone, but I never really noticed that kind of detail is in there. You wouldn't know it's her name until you've seen it before.
Exactly.
So I think that's a pretty cool detail, and I guess you don't even get that answered like in this movie. It's not until volume 2. So
you can see it when she gets her passport. When she buys her tickets, her name is on it. So
okay.
If you can,
she pause.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So the diehards, if you really wanted to find out before Kill Bill Volume 2 came out, you could have done it. So
that's good to know. But I think that sets up a really good mystery, because there's even like at the very end of that scene she says something about like the child, right? And it just like cuts it off, and you don't hear about that. You don't hear about that until like the very end of the movie when Bill mentions it again, that it's kind of like leading into volume 2. But I think there's a good job of like keeping mystery there, keeping interest for volume 2. I mean, obviously it's already kind of there with, you have 2 other people on this list that she's got to take out, but I think it's kind of just multi-layered of why you'd want to stick around and watch the second one. And like, I really have to watch the second one again to see like what really gets expanded upon. But I think this movie has in and of itself is just like a great standalone movie in terms of pacing. Like it feels shorter than other Tarantino movies.
It's short. It's only
under 2 hours. Yeah.
Hour and 50. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, there's really only like one kind of slower sequence in there for me, and that's when they're like when she's getting like the sword and stuff, and like. I guess like the I don't know who he is. I don't know what his name is, but he's like he's kind of just sitting there in the classic, position, and just kind of explaining stuff.
Hanzo Hattori.
The cinematography,
Hanzo,
yeah, there you go. The cinematography in that scene's really, really cool, but I find that sequence maybe slows down a bit. But that's like the only time. Other than that, I think it's really, really on it.
From that scene, I like how like when it's initially shot, it's just Hanzo and like his assistant, and like you don't even know that she's there. It's just like him kind of like, I don't know, going over his sword, just admiring it and everything. And then it goes to the other like shot that's panning and shows her, and then that's when he's giving it to her. It's great because he's kind of talking, but you don't know if he's just talking to himself or kind of talking to his assistant. Like, this is my best sword I've ever made. Yeah. And then once it introduces her, I like the way that they shot that. There's kind of
another moment like that too when she's in the hospital, and the girl with the eye patch. Do we remember her name? Anyone? Top of your head?
I do. California Mountain Snake.
Yo,
let's go.
That's her nickname.
I forget her real name.
There's a moment I like there because, like, obviously this movie, I was kind of remembering a lot of it as I was watching it because I've only seen it twice. And in like one of the shots in the hospital scene, like a lot of it, she's like looking out the window and you can see Uma Thurman in the bed. But then there's like one like longer shot where she's talking to Bill and it's just her, so you can't see Uma Thurman. And it's like, I feel like it's like a good question, like she's standing right by a window. Like you could easily see her just like kick her out of that window. You don't know at that time that she like can't like move her body at all. So it's kind of like a fun mystery. It kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, I feel like. And obviously that character as well is very much just kind of leading into the second movie for when you get to see like the end of her story. But I think there's a lot of nice little like drop in the breadcrumbs to keep you interested along the way.
Yeah, that I remember like the first time she's introduced and she's doing her little whistle.
Down the hallway.
Yeah, I remember
the music.
My dad actually made that like his ringtone for a long time. So I would always think of this movie whenever he'd get a call.
That's hilarious.
But it's she's just an interesting look too with the eye patch, and especially when she gets her nurse outfit and it's just like the cross or whatever on there. But no, I love that scene though when she's like basically there to kill her, gets the call like, no, don't kill her like a rat, like when she's sleeping. And then she goes over to Uma Thurman and she's like, I bet you thought that was pretty fucking funny, huh? It's just like, okay.
Just talking shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's like she's in a coma, but okay.
She's very intimidating.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And then, I guess in that same scene, that's when you get Buck. Get that character.
Yeah. Buck. Very, like, I feel like, it's pretty gross, but, like, it doesn't get as gross as it could be.
No.
Like some of other Tarantino movies, there's more, like, cringy scenes than that one. but even just like the Vaseline like opens that.
Oh
Vaseline,
yeah,
it's just like got
all
hair on it. It's super
very nasty.
fucking gross.
Yeah.
And that actor who's like essentially I guess like the rapist in that scene.
Yeah,
He's just like. He just always plays that character in these kind of movies, right? He's just like a scumbag. Even in Death Proof, he has like a very similar role.
Oh, is he in Death Proof?
Yeah, like just in a very quick scene. I think it's him. He's just like it's a very quick scene, but it's almost like the same role that he has in this movie. It's kind of funny. It's like it could be the same guy if he didn't, die.
Yeah. No, very gruesome, like death too. When she's just like ripping out his tongue, basically. Would you die from that?
I don't know if you die that quick, but
he was out.
Blood loss wise, you would definitely die.
Yeah, I guess shock.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, you don't fully see what happened. Like, I'm sure he got a pretty nasty bump on his head too, and she like
that
threw
is
him
true.
off the bed, but you don't really see that explicitly.
And then the other guy. Oh yeah,
Buck.
He was Buck. When she just like smashes his head in,
Yeah.
it was just like a kind of a minor detail, and he's like twitching. Like after she gets like the last slam, I'm just like, oh man, what a way to go! Kill off like the two just grossest characters, and like
it's very satisfying.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I just love that whole like going from when she's there and then to leaving, and then she's just like goes to the wiggle your big toe moment. It's just like it's so like. I don't know, not a lot's happening, but it's just, for some reason, it's just fun for me. I love that scene.
It's just like, really like the purpose of that scene is like exposition for like Ren, right? But it's like such good exposition if you think about it, right? It's just like one, it's kind of unexpected that you leave in like this anime sequence. Like that's a really interesting thing to do in a movie like this, especially like Tarantino's never done anything like that before. He hasn't done it since. But it just makes like for such an interesting and unique sequence. But then it also works perfectly as like, there is like kind of a time jump in that scene where she's like, it's like, what is it, 12, 13 hours before she can like move fully. Yeah. So yeah, definitely a pretty interesting scene.
Yeah, I love the pacing of the entire beginning. It's just, it's a good way to start the movie off of why you're going to care about this character. Well, everyone's killed on the wedding day. Her groom, she's pretty much killed. She has a baby. So that sets up, but I like the back and forth of you have that, and then you jump right into when she's going to take out what's the house one with the kid? What's her name? Fox plays her.
Oh yeah,
I have her actual name. It's Vanita Green, but I don't have her nickname. But first of all, that's just a great fight scene. They have a really cool dynamic. All like the bride and all the victims have a really fun dynamic. I think that's one thing that goes away in Volume 2 a little bit is I think Bud is not the most interesting character who Michael Madsen is, and that's why I can't remember, so I'll look out for this time. But I remember that being a big slog. But we only got 2 in this film, but I like that. Okay, you get the she's pretty much dead. This character, you've seen her troubles, and then right away you get back to her being a badass, her hunting, and then you go back to her being in the hospital, and then you set up Ren. I love the whole that time. I like just because it's a good kind of balance of you're getting the stakes and the reasoning why, but then it's not, because if you did this in continuity, I think it would still be gripping, but then you lose a little bit of that. It'd be a long time till you got, if you did in continuity, actually you'd end on the house, so that wouldn't be good. But if you just even put the hospital first and then go in the house, I think it wouldn't have the same thing where the opening, it's violent, but you don't see any skill or technique, whether it's from the characters or from a filmmaking standpoint. It's just, this is a really gruesome, sad scene. And then the next scene, great fight scene, kid coming home and everything like that. It's always bugged me that she, when she gets the gun out of the cereal box, that she misses that shot. You just think this assassin. There's a few times where they say they're really deadly and then they'll miss them. Or like, I don't know. But that's where I think this movie's at such a heightened world. I just pass it. But great fight scene. Then you get the hospital. I loved everything in that pacing at the beginning. I even like the little anime short and the world building with Ren and her life and then everyone around her. Even Gogo is just like
Gogo's
phenomenal. I think that's one of the problems too. Again, I hate to raise 2 to bring up down, but I think 2 doesn't have a set piece like the ending of this movie. Like we talk about the last 40 minutes. It's all about getting to Bill, but even after that, it's a lot about the origin. So that set piece, it's almost, I don't know if it would have worked switching them. Probably not once I watched 2, but it's such a high, that fight scene. I know kind of jump into the end there, but it's just an epic sword fight and samurai fight scene. And I think it's paced well. I think the middle is a little bit slower, but nothing that I would take out because I feel it all has to set up. I like her getting the sword, the sense of honor. But the beginning, I really like just the ordering of her
I
origin.
agree. That opening scene is so much fun just because it's like, it's just kind of, it's like a goofy scene, right? It's just like so over the top, just all the glass that gets smashed and just throwing like these shelves down. There's a cool shot. Like a lot of the cinematography I think is good throughout that, but I like the one like bird's eye view shot they have when they go into the kitchen.
Oh yeah,
and it's just like them from above. They also do that later in the O-Ren, like sometime in there, just like a interesting like kind of bird's eye view shot. But yeah, I love that dynamic where they both just put the knife behind their back and just have this like nice conversation for a few minutes before it leads like, right back into like that surprise.
So kaboom. Funny too, because she's like, or the daughter's like, what happened? It's like your dog came in here and wreaked havoc. They're just bloody. Yeah. It's like I forget the dog's name. It's like so and so did this. Yeah. Yeah, that scene too. When she gets to the house, I just love like the order that they have it, because she's in this super like over the top weird truck, and like we don't understand how she gets it at the time. The pussy wagon, I think it's called. Yeah. It's just, I remember like the first time I watched this, I was just so confused. I'm like, this movie's so strange. And then like it just gets weirder and weirder from there. Like that's where you get the first bleep. Like you just don't know what her name is, and then the kind of time jumps. And but yeah, I just love that. And then the fight scene is just so great. And then when the daughter comes, they just both just play along, and then they're just like, you want coffee? They're just like hanging out. The gunshot, I kind of like, I don't know, I just told myself this to make it better, but I feel like maybe she's a little less accurate because the gun's in a box.
That's
so
what
she
I'm
can't
hoping.
she can't really aim properly because she can't really see the gun. But that's what I kind of told myself. But it was so funny because I think Uma Thurman has a cup, or what, she's holding something, and she just drop kicks it.
She does,
cup of coffee.
Yeah, she drops kicks it, and then she gets the knife. It's just, I love that scene. It's so good, and just the way that it opens, because you don't, I don't know, you don't know much at that time. Right?
I love the line of dialogue she has for her daughter. 'Cause it's like, it's a really dark thing, right? But even just, I'll be waiting for you.
Yeah.
So you ever want revenge?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna bring that up. Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get, but at one point Tarantino was working on a Kill Bill Volume 3 of that daughter coming to actually hunt the bride and whatnot. So I don't know if we'll ever get it. He's already talking about maybe retiring now, but it would have been a fun thing. That's why I kind of wish he didn't put this limit on himself, but I guess I understand why. But yeah, that's what I like. The bride just has such a pride and such a code about her that, and even then, like when we get to Ren later, they still do, even though they committed this heinous act and like took her out on her wedding day, they still have a code when it comes down to fighting. So it's very strange, you know, and it makes sense that Green, she didn't have that code and she got killed, you know. So well, Ren does too. So either way, if you just go up against the bride, it's not going your way. So
I forget when it's said, but she's talking about Ren and how she killed 9 people on that day. She's like, you should have killed 10. Another great line of dialogue. Like there isn't kind of like you said at the beginning, like there isn't a lot of scenes where you just have 2 characters talking for an extended period of time, but like even just her dialogue as it's kind of like exposition, but also just kind of like an internal narrative, right? Where she's talking to herself. It's like, I love her dialogue. It's so much fun.
Oh yeah, and when she's describing Ren, the character in the world, I always said this is, I think, the closest Tarantino will ever be to directing like a comic book movie, because comic book movies aren't like this, but in comic books they're always the main characters like narrating themselves and talking about the situation. That's what the bride does almost the entire film about. Until she's fighting, she's not narrating then, but leading up to something after, talking about a character's motivations. It's you could to me you can just like see the thought bubbles almost around her. So just the whole style is very just kind of wish fulfillment, and it has a fantasy like quality to it, just because there is just so much action, so much stuff done, where some moments she is fighting like a normal person, but then some moments she's just like flipping and she like takes that guy and skewers him in front of everybody. So yeah.
I just love just like commenting on that one scene, because she literally picks up like a fully grown male, and it's just it's so animated. I love it. All right, going from the hospital. What was after that? I guess when she goes to Japan.
She goes to I guess technically, right, yeah.
Okinawa. I think you might get like earlier on, you get the scene of Ren like in the boardroom talking with those people. I love that scene as well, when she just some guy is pretty much not giving her the respect she thinks she deserves. She just instantly walks up on the table, very quickly walks and just fucking decapitates him.
Oh, yeah. I just love her little footsteps. It just like gets over, cuts his whole head off, and just picks up his head.
Yeah, she's great in this movie. I love Ren, and I love Go-Go. So good. I love her, like...
Go-Go's the best.
Her mini intro of just her being... Just talking about how sick and sadistic she is, and she's like flirting with this guy, and then when he admits that he wants to sleep with her, she just disembowels him at this pub and everything like that, and talking about, oh, you want to penetrate me, but I penetrate you. She's just like, and when you see her come down with like the swinging mace and everything, she's just such a fun character.
Oh yeah,
I love that whole set piece, that world that he created.
It's a great fight scene between those two.
Yeah. Very intense.
It's really like interesting like choreography that they had to do with like that weapon, because it's just so unique the way that she like spins it around her to like get the momentum to hit the bride with it.
Yeah,
it's just I love it. And then you throw in just little Go-Go wearing like her little schoolgirl outfit, right? It's so fun. She's got her white Nikes.
Yeah. She like wraps around her neck and then just like slowly is kind of moving forward.
Oh yeah, gruesome death. Oh yeah, very very gruesome. When she first just stabs her in the foot through her white Nikes and they just turn red. Oh, yeah.
Poor shoes. Yeah, and then the O-Ren fight scene I really like as well. It's just that one I think I probably like the most because up in that point it's all very cartoony, very heavy action, very quick pace. But that one's just these people.
It's all about the neutral game.
Yeah, dueling off. I love that little water gallon that's going on. Yeah, it's so nice, especially when she's dying. It's just that's the only sound you hear, even when it's not on camera. You hear it. So the snow reminds me a lot of Django with it's like with the white flower, same thing as the blood kind of splashing on that. So that's everything in that. Those scenes are done off. So you got that really good long tracking shot as well when the bride enters. It's about like over 2 minutes of it's just on her, and it goes like. Doesn't stop. It goes through stairs and everything. I got some trivia, but just everything about that set piece is really well done.
Yeah,
so. I do. That tracking shot's really good. But I love the environment totally changes as soon as she walks out on that roof, right? Like the snow just has like this way of kind of calming and making everything really quiet.
Yeah.
As Canadians, I think we can all attest to that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like the fact that's reflected in that scene with just like that kind of ominous water spout. And like when the scene when she actually gets killed is like kind of it is zoomed out there, right? So you're not like seeing it super up close. And it's such an interesting fight scene because of what you're saying, how it's very minimalist, right? Like they only take like 5 or 6 slices at each other, but I guess it just goes to show that they know like how good they are, or maybe O-Ren gave herself a little too much credit or something. But it's pretty brutal as well, just scalping her, kind of shout outs to Inglourious Bastards. Maybe a precursor to that.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, because like when she does the first like strike, you just see hair go. Like you don't really like I don't know fully understand. And then she does her little like I guess it is a Hanzo Hattori sword, and then it just goes up, and you just see her brain. It's like all right, let's go.
And I don't know. I think it's. Like, just thinking about the whole final sequence, right? Like, that's a lot of people that die. Especially, like, I love just the very end of it zooms out, and you kind of just get, like, an image of, like, these are all the people that just died. And, like, all the limbs just separated around.
Leave your limbs. They now belong to me.
Yeah. It never it doesn't feel... Like, it clearly is over the top, but it doesn't feel like too much. Like, the scene goes on for a while, but I really like it. Whereas I felt like even in the scene of Django where he's kind of just going ham for a while, like, even though it's a lot less people that die, to me that one feels more like a little too over the top, which I don't know, it's kind of weird. And I think I felt the first time I watched this movie, I think I was kind of in that boat where I was like, okay, that's like maybe a bit too much. But I just think the second time around, like this movie is so it's so intentional with like how over the top it wants to be, how cheesy it wants to be. Yeah. And I just feel like now seeing it a second time, I really like that. And I don't know, I mean, I'm not sure, like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, how many times like I'll see this movie. I don't know how that fight, how that's gonna like age on me, but for right now, I think it's just perfect.
Yeah, I like because the first like set of battle, like the first guys that are there, it's like it's very manageable. It's like okay, yeah, like 1v however many people that were. Yeah, like okay, I'll go along with it. And then once like the backup shows up and it's just like 150 times more than we're over there, it's just like, oh man, they just keep coming like ants just out of their little holes. And it's definitely like, definitely over the top at like certain points. But,
just like the camera too. Just like every entrance it zooms in on, there's like just some leader pointing. Yeah, and, like 5 or 7 dudes.
But like multiple Wilhelm screens in that one scene. Yeah. Not spaced out, just 30 seconds apart. Yeah,
it's so like I've seen I watch a lot of anime. I've seen a lot of anime of just one character just decimating like thousands of people. So it's like it's just you see the similarities in it. It's just so great. And then just in that same scene, the prolonged fight scene, I guess you could call it. There's some interesting like lighting changes that happen. There's one that goes black and white, and then one that goes all blue. Yeah, and I absolutely love this like the changes because I think. I forget which at what point it goes black and white.
Black and white is when the guy gets his eye.
Oh right,
yes. The rest of the crazy 88s, so like the second batch of them. First it's in color, And then when it goes out of color, I like it. She like blinks and it goes into color and
Yeah.
out of color. It's a nice little touch. So
So
it's almost like a Killer Rage. Like she's changing into like more of a machine.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so I just love that so much. And when it goes blue, you can't like fully see the character, just more of silhouettes, and you can just see like them sword fighting. I love that so much. That's probably one of my favorite scenes of that scene,
right?
Or the part of that scene rather.
Yeah, it's a long sequence, right?
Absolutely.
It keeps going.
Yeah, and it just and then like all of like the over the top stuff of people just like running up like the railings like up top like to the second story. It's just like, oh man, I love this movie. The more and more I watch it, it's just so entertaining to me, and I don't know.
The battle like on the railing just between her and that one like more general guy as well is kind of fun because it's kind of wobbly, and then even when she gets like kicked down and she like just barely grabs onto the staircase, like you can definitely tell that that's like a stunt double that did that, right? And not I don't know.
Oh, you don't know what this movie.
I don't know, maybe I don't, but it feels very real, and I don't know, I think they did a really good job.
She almost died on the set of the second one, so I wouldn't be surprised. So
and the actress that does the stunt doubles for Uma is she's in Death Proof, right?
And Django, yeah. And
is she in Django?
Django, she's that girl with the scarf that they
right.
That's
we
cut
did talk
that was going to tell that story, but and she's also
she has an actual role in Death Proof, which is cool.
Yeah, so Tarantino took a liking to her.
She's good.
Yeah. I totally know what part of that scene you're talking about, because like everything else, it looks like they're just like on wires, like they're just getting pulled up, right? Like it's just like the jumping is just so
there's one point where she literally
unnatural.
jumps like across the entire room. And it's like, what happened?
But like that one part, it definitely feels like the most realistic out of all of it. I feel like she like falls down and then they kind of shoot her back up with like some wires. So like, but that one part, it definitely feels like the most authentic and like realistic. Yeah,
I don't know. Even just like the scale of it, like as the fountains are just filled with blood at the very end, and obviously like all the limbs. It's just and then as the music like cuts down, and you're just kind of realizing all that what happened. And it's like, man, Tarantino accounted for like every one of those bodies. That's pretty intense. Maybe he didn't, but it feels like it. Yeah, and that's all that matters.
I love. I forget. Is it Julie or Sophie? What was her name? The person that got her arm cut off with me.
Julie? Julie's Julie's her real name actually. It's Julie Dreyfus. Yeah, I don't know her character name.
Okay,
I think it might be Sophie. I think
yeah. So I had both. Yeah. But I just love it too because that's the first person that she dismembers, and then like at the end of the battle, they're all like limping away, and she's like, "Not you, Sophie. You stay here." It's just so good. She's just so fucked. She's been bleeding out for like 20 minutes or however long this battle's been going on. Yeah. But
then taken hostage, and then to Bill, presumably to die. So that sucks.
Whoa.
That sucks too. Whatever that is.
Sucks for her.
Oh yeah, not great. Not great. What's going to end up happening to her? But I know we talked about the end, but I always thought the very very ending, great cliffhanger of just revealing like, oh, does she know the child's still alive? I think that's like you kind of have to see what's next. And to me, I remember the highlight of 2 is just her interactions with Bill and whatnot.
Yeah.
Also, we haven't been introduced to the Grandmaster, where you get the hinting of it with the eye, the eye pole. But I'm trying to think. I thought I had some I'll say on Julie, but I think it's gone into my mind. Someone katana it out of my mind.
I didn't realize that she's the same person who's the translator in Inglourious Bastards. That's kind of cool.
Oh, is she? Okay, I didn't know.
She only has like 1 or 2 lines in that movie, so she doesn't have too much more here. But at least a little bit more.
Still speaking French though.
She's good. She's got that distinct ethnicity.
Yeah,
she's pretty spicy. So
at first, when I saw it in the credits, I had to do a double take because I thought it was like Julie Louise Dreyfus from Seinfeld. I was like, I do not remember Elaine in this movie at all. And I was like, oh right, it's this actress. But for a while, I was like, I feel like I've missed something because technically Samuel Jackson is in this movie. It's just his dead body, but he'll pop in the second one because
really?
Because he's the organ player in the wedding. The fan theory is that that's Jules. So. He's walking the earth and then met his demise
fan
there.
Theory.
So because I think there's some other.
I haven't really read like Tarantino fan theories. Me neither. But now I kind of want to.
I kind of want to dabble in.
There's another one with Hanzo. If I'm saying his name correctly, right? The reason he doesn't make swords anymore is because Bill betrayed him and was using excuses to get swords for his whole crew and everything like that. And then he found out they were being used for crime, so he moved away, stopped making them. And the reason he makes it for the bride is because he thought that's kind of like a balancing it to be like, well, Bill screwed me over, killed all these people, and I'm gonna make her that. So there, especially this one, I think, because the culture of samurai and Japanese warriors, I think there's a bit more fan theories. But I think Tarantino has fan theory for probably every single film. I'm not looking at Hateful Eight, so I'll be excited to dive into that. But those were that's one of them that I saw was a popular one.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think Hateful Eight, like, there's definitely some argument that it, is in the same world as Django. Obviously, it's a possibility. So I wonder if there's any like connections. I haven't put any together personally.
I think there is. I can't remember. I think there's some name of a tavern someone mentions, and it's like, oh, that was also in Django and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to touch quickly back on that the bar scene when she goes to talk to Hanzo. Just I love just like the dynamic of him like constantly asking the guy for tea, and it just gets like more and more heated. Yeah. And he's just fucking screaming at him like full power. Like, what does he throw at him? Is it a knife or is it like a cup or something? I doubt it would be a knife, but it's like such a quick shot.
Yeah, it is a quick shot.
Like, it might just be like a cup or something, but I don't think it like shatters. I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't know actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a cup.
Yeah,
that's maybe like one of those like because it doesn't shatter, right?
Wooden cup.
So it's more
or
like a wooden. I remember bouncing.
Yeah. But even like I don't know, it's a pretty short and like humble scene, but I like I feel like they have good like chemistry.
Yeah,
she's like trying out some Japanese words and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's so great too because like Tarantino does this in basically all of his movies, but like their little like back and forth, it doesn't really like mean much. It's just making like the scene more real and like giving these characters they feel like just real people because it's like. I don't know if you have to constantly work with this super lazy guy. Like, I definitely getting aggravated having to deal with this shit. And then he's just like bickering back and forth. It's just, and then, just whips his cup at him just in frustration. I love any time that there is like just little back and forth like that. That doesn't necessarily advance the plot in any way or like, I don't know, give backstories to a character. It's just bullshitting or.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like coupled with like that anime too, right? Where it's like even like the way, like his intonation, right? He's just like so dramatic. He's like doing like the arm stances,
totally,
and just like getting really heated about it, and like just a really dramatic pose.
Definitely, the pose
it just makes like the whole scene really funny.
Yeah, no, definitely over the top. Just and yeah, that's a good point. That definitely happens a lot in anime. It's just like their body movements are just so animated, along with like how they're speaking and just like basically yelling, even though they're not like necessarily that. I don't know.
Yeah, even like that, I feel like his whole character is like pretty dramatic when he just goes up to the attic and like throws that baseball at her. And even just like as he's like, I need 1 month for the sword. You better start training. And then he just like jumps like through the entrance like to the attic. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I love that over the top stuff. I feel like I don't know. You might not necessarily have a flavor for like that sort of style of movie, but for me, it's definitely my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So that's why I just eat this movie up.
It's like it's tastefully done,
Yeah,
tastefully, very tastefully. I don't think I have too many more notes.
I got all my notes. We talked about everything. We talked about the revenge sound, just the classic, just the classic. Everyone knows that sound now, and then the bleeping name, fun, and unique. And I talked about the beginning, but I liked when I was talking about the pacing. I forgot to mention that. It obviously the wedding happened, but you still don't really know the why of everything, and you still don't really get a full clear picture to the second one. But it starts to unravel, and it is just a revenge thrill, but it's also kind of like a murder mystery in a way of like the plot slowly getting unraveled and whatnot. And you get little shades of it this one, and then 2 gives you all the answers. But I like that aspect of you don't still really know what's going on. For the most part, just that she needs to kill these people, but you don't know why Bill did who it is. I love that you don't even see Bill in this movie.
Yeah.
Very well done. So,
and he has like a really distinct voice as well.
Yeah. So,
I have a quick question. So if she gets shot in the head, does she get like kind of skinned on the side, or do you think it goes like through her head? Well, in the hospital, she's kind of like,
she's got a metal plate.
A little bit of both, like through the head, but maybe through just the, not that directly through the head. I think more like the side of the head. Like it took out some brain, but not all of it.
Not the important brain.
Not the important brain.
Just like creative garbage.
Yeah, the stuff you could throw. Yeah. Ask Calvin Candy. Give you a whole brain anatomy. What you can lose. Yeah. Damn. This is old band.
There was one part. I should have wrote down specifically where it was, but there was a scene that she kind of draws a square, like very similar to Pulp Fiction. I thought that was fun. I never noticed that before.
Yeah, it doesn't have
subtle.
It doesn't have the outline.
No, yeah.
God, yeah. Where is that?
Because she's talking to someone when she does it.
I don't remember either.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to say it was when she was interacting with Hanzo.
I'd imagine because I don't know where else it would have been.
Exactly.
To be honest, because all the other conversations.
Oh, it was in the kitchen. It was in the kitchen in the opening scene with.
Oh yeah.
When she's having coffee, I forget what the line is.
No, yeah.
But
you're right.
It's definitely in that kitchen scene.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
I can't remember the line.
I had to shout that out there because it was just, especially since we just watched Pulp Fiction.
I'm glad you wrote that down.
Yeah.
About that.
let's see what in the opening scene, the sheriff that comes in and kind of having that back and forth with like the deputy, and then they're just talking about
Big
the
eyes.
massacre. Yeah, I just love when he's like pulling up in his car and he's just got like a bunch of aviators on his dash. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
No.
It's like four different sets and they're all different color.
Uh-huh.
It's just I don't know why I had to shout it out, but it's just funny.
I like it.
Unique,
Yeah.
like totally unnecessary to have that in there, but it's just a little artsy thing that they threw in. I really like that. Let's see.
I guess one thing that I'll mention is we all just said we really like the anime sequence, but I guess some details that I really like about it. One is, you know, when Oren's like under the bed and then her mom gets stabbed, and just like how slowly like it leads from her mom gets stabbed. I guess you're not really fully sure, but then like the blood starts seeping through, and then it starts like dripping through, and then like the music just gets really intense, and it's like it's not even like sad music. It's like really just operatic and intense. But yeah, I thought that was really well done, and it kind of, I guess it almost like it's kind of compared to when she kills him later, like when she's a few years older, and then it's just like an absurd amount of blood sprays out. But that whole scene is really cool, and I like that there's like the creepy guy as well who just, what does he do exactly? He like shoots the bottle from across the room, and then he like throws his cigarette at it to like just light the place on fire.
So over the top anime,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then like after when she's a little bit older, like still anime scene, but when she kills the boss and then she like goes under the bed and shoots the guy's like kneecap off and his leg just like falls off. Totally, I've seen that in multiple animes.
Yeah.
But I just love that whole scene. And then especially, I'm glad you shouted out that like this, I don't know what you'd call him, the special guy. I'd call it, like the guy with the sword that killed her father. Just I don't know. I just really like having like someone that was in like all white, because it really just makes him feel like a special type character as opposed to just another goon. And
according to David Carradine, the man in the anime flashback who kills Oren's father is a younger Bill. So that's like, that's the guy that plays Bill. So I don't know if he has any information or that's just a theory of his. But
he's in those like Tarantino fan forums.
yeah. So, well, after Saw Freaks, but I imagine that might be the case if he's saying that. I think Tarantino might have said that to him. It's just like a fun, like, oh, you know, that character.
Some inspiration.
Yeah.
This is who you are.
Another scene that I just thought was definitely over the top and just didn't really make sense at the time, but it's when they're at the bar scene before all the carnage happens, and the bride's there, and she's just kind of like spying a bit, and then Ren throws like her little dagger out of the room, and Gogo goes and checks, and like it's a bar, like people are dancing, all these things, and just somehow the bride's just like on the roof, like just like instantly.
She's great leaping abilities.
Yeah,
in this movie.
yeah, that is true.
Yeah,
but it's just awesome. I just love the overtop things. Because in like a regular movie, I'd be very questioning it on like, I don't know, how nobody saw her, how she got up there. Yeah, the logistics of it. But I just love that.
She got up there pretty fast.
That's basically all my notes. We kind of went over everything else.
I thought of one more because I didn't actually take a whole lot of notes. I was watching this. That's why my thoughts are very messy today. So bear with me. But one more thing with like the Oren, when she's up on that roof taking that shot. I like that she has just like that bright red suit. It kind of
thank you.
You can kind of compare it to Kiddo's. Like, what is her first name again? Beatrix.
Bellatrix.
No,
Beatrix.
Not
Bellatrix is Harry Potter. Yeah.
Beatrix. Yeah, kind of. I guess I can just call her the bride. But it's kind of. I guess you can kind of compare it to her, like just bright suit. But then also just the camera angle there. One, it's almost like a throwback shot to like Pulp Fiction when Marvin, I think his name is, gets shot in the head. But I like that the camera follows like the whole way through, goes through his head, and then the camera angle is just like from inside his head. And you can see like the outside of his head slightly, and then the two girls like
blood
scream.
Splatter. Yeah,
really just nice cinematography on that shot. It makes like what could be just boring exposition really a really fun scene.
I loved her,
and
look
it shows
too.
how fucking good she is, right? Because you can't see through those windows, but she still knows exactly where to shoot. So.
I love like. And like the art style, obviously, I'm pretty biased because I just love anime. But like her look too, because she's got the red, like basically just full body suit, plus like the red fingernails. Just everything just looks so good in that scene.
She looks amazing.
Yeah.
And then you get talking about classics. You get another trunk shot classic as far as when Sophie's in the trunk and he's telling her what she needs to tell Bill. And then you get the threes again with the first people that run at. The bride is like three guys and pretty much just doing the same motions downstairs, and she just kills them. But Tarantino's loves his trunks and he loves his things of threes in a row.
And his feet.
Yeah.
And his feet.
There's also a foot shot in this movie too.
And it's on the big toe for quite a while. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of emphasis put on just like the quality of the Hanzo sword. I love how she just like chops people's swords down.
Oh
like,
yeah,
she just cuts them in half.
Go back to your mother.
Yeah, that one.
What are you doing in the Yakuza?
Just spanks him. Yeah, it's so funny.
He just runs downstairs crying.
Yeah, I love like his like I don't know like little acting of him like running down because he just looks like a little kid that got like just in trouble. He's like sniffling, just like covering his ass. Just hilarious.
Definitely.
Anything else? Some trivia?
I'm ready for trivia.
I'd like to say some trivia.
Ready me to butcher some like Asian actress or actor's name because I'm not gonna do it because I don't know how to pronounce Gogo's name. It's like Shiaki Kurayami. But I'm just going to go with the actress that portrayed Gogo was shooting the scene where she flings her ball chain out and she accidentally hit Quentin Tarantino in the head that was standing by the camera. So, that sucks.
What are you doing by the camera, man?
Yeah. At the beginning of the fight scene between Oren and the bride, Oren says in Japanese, "I hope you saved your energy. If you haven't, you may not last 5 minutes." It is exactly 4 minutes and 59 seconds from the time she steps forward and the music cues until the fatal blow of the duel happens.
That's a cool detail.
That is a really cool detail.
That makes me happy that I know that.
Yeah,
me too.
I'm going to count it next time I watch the movie.
Me too.
I'm actually probably going to forget. But
you will, yeah. Listen to this first. Tarantino originally intended to cast a Japanese actress to play Oren, but before casting, he saw Lucy Liu's work in Shanghai New, immediately changed Oren to a Chinese-Japanese-American so Liu could play the part. So not exactly written for her, but then adapted for her.
Yeah.
So, and she fits it perfectly. Lucy Liu, she's a really good actress. She's not like... I know it probably sound bad. Like she's not like the greatest actress in the world. I've never seen a performance that was amazing, but this performance is, I think, perfect for her. She doesn't have to do too much, but it's all on her face, and she does a good job of that. When she has to be scary, she's scary and things like that. So.
I like how they kind of like comment as well. Like the one guy that got decapitated, he's just like total mixed bag of Chinese, Japanese, American.
Yeah.
Should be.
I was wondering about that. Like if she actually is like that is her mix, or if it was something that like. They were looking for, because she's like a well-known actress, right? So it would be weird if it wasn't like.
Yeah, and this was after the first Charlie's Angel, which was huge back in the '90s. So she was like starting to build a reputation for herself. So, and that's the other thing because you got Michael Madsen who's in here as Bud very minorly. But other than Uma Thurman, there's not too many repeat ones. It's kind of it's similar to Jackie Brown that we just did.
So I think when you have a lot of Japanese actors, that's definitely part of it.
Yeah. But then like you got Bill in there, and then even Elle Driver, who I guess he's never worked with too many females at that point, really, because like there was Mia Wallace, and then that terrible character from Jackie Brown. So but
that's true.
Yeah. So it reminds me of Jackie Brown that way, where he picked a few and brought them over, but then when we see. I'd feel and then he kind of has that with Death Proof, but then when we get into like Bastards and Django, he brings back his favorites, right? So
Hateful Eight especially, it brings back like some OG.
Oh yeah, it's like his best stuff. So Quentin Tarantino and Uma Thurman on the DVD commentary track, which you should listen to. I'm not a big fan of commentary tracks. I listened to them when I was younger, but I did listen to them on films I really like, and they're. I think I listened to the ones with Tarantino just because he's a strange cat, so it's fun to hear him. The idea of doing Kill Bill began during the filming of Pulp Fiction. The two began talking about kind of movies that they would like to do. Quentin said he would love to do a 70s styles kung fu flick. Uma came out with the film's opening shot of her being beaten wearing the wedding gown. So kind of had this idea in Pulp Fiction.
That's cool.
Took almost a decade to get done because Pulp Fiction came out in '94 and this came out in 03. So it took took a Jackie Brown pit stop to get us there.
And because Jackie Brown was 97.
Yeah.
And then this was 2003, 6 years.
Yeah, so they probably started working on it late 2001, 2002.
That's a long time for sure. Well, I guess it makes sense as well if they filmed. Did Volume 2 come out like a year after? Yeah.
I think they filmed them pretty much back to back. So
they didn't film all at once.
What? That's what I mean, back to back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think they did Peter Jackson, this scene there. I could be wrong. Maybe we'll get that in the Volume 2 trivia, but I think it's... I think there's some.
I would be shocked if it wasn't just filmed all at the same time.
Yeah, it might be. I know there's a cut that he's never released. It's called The Whole Bloody Affair. He only played on some independent scenes.
Just like a compilation?
Yeah, and I think there's some stuff that's taken away, but then some stuff that's added as well. But he's never released it. I think he says he plans to one day, so I hope that happens.
When he's
me too.
wanting to make some money in like 20 years when he's
I'd buy it.
when he hasn't
retired.
been doing movies for 15 years.
Yeah.
Has some time to just edit.
Let's see here. We already talked about Zobel. I was going to point that out. She's a stunt double. The bride's yellow outfit was inspired by the outfit worn by the great Bruce Lee in his final film, Game of Death. So, and he also said, I didn't put this in the trivia, but he said if Bruce Lee was still alive at the time of filming, he would have done anything to get him to be in this movie, because that is like the kung fu guy, Enter the Dragon. So despite being bleeped out, the name was actually on the plane tickets. I told you guys that. These were the actors. There's about 4 or 5 actors that were wanted for Bill. So the original one was Warren Beatty. I don't think you guys would know him, but he was the one that he originally offered the role to. He turned it down and said, "Oh, you should look at David Carradine." But he said if Warren Beatty would have got it, he would have made more of a James Bond kind of suave style character. So we'll get more on that when we talk about Bill in the second one. But other names: Burt Reynolds, Mickey Rourke, Kurt Russell, and Jack Nicholson. So all very different actors who would have been playing Bill. It's not like he was definitely not going for a type. He was going for older actors that could, I think, carry a scene. And if you look at all those, they have distinguishable voices, especially I think like someone like Jack. Hey, bride. That's the only thing they have in common. But other than that, I think they all would have played them very differently. And I like David Carradine, so I'm happy he got the role.
Yeah, me too.
Because I don't think Jack Nicholson would have put in that kung fu time, to be honest, even though one of the greatest actors of all time. Tarantino delayed the start of production because Uma Thurman is pregnant. So I just put them there as big shout-outs because not only does she this is her first movie after acting or after pregnancy, it's just like lots of physical activity. So she has to get in shape. She has to be moving around. So
that's
mad
cool.
respect to her.
It's cool that they waited for her too.
Yeah. Well, it's her idea, You can't,
It's her idea.
I remember when they're talking about Pulp Fiction,
Oh, yeah.
I think they were pretty I think there's a chance that if he couldn't have done with her, he wouldn't have done it. Because there's a time where Hateful Eight he almost didn't make. He was going to make it a book because that script leak. So he can get kind of stubborn that way. In a recent interview, all the music used in this film are from other movies, like soundtracks and whatnot, so they're all inspired from something. I don't know which is which, but I'm sure if you went on the internet and looked, it's from this one. I imagine they're probably all kind of 70s, maybe kung fu or action sort of movie. Just guessing. I could be wrong, but I just feel that could be the thing. The infamous long take took 6 hours to rehearse and shot in 17 takes. After that Steadicam operator, Larry McConkie was rumored to have passed out from exhaustion, so that's tough. And then the cinematographer, to entice him to work on the project, Tarantino had sent him the script to his house on Valentine's Day along with a bouquet of roses. So I just threw that in because it's a common theme that whether it's Michael Keaton or somebody, there's a common theme where he has to, convince someone, and he usually wins up for the most part, so it's he's a guy that likes to talk.
Schmoozer.
And so it's funny. Almost every film and trivia, there's some person's like, I don't know, and then he did something like, look at last time Robert Forster when he just found him in a restaurant, said, "You're doing this," and gave him the script. Luckily he wanted to do it, but it's like, okay, you tracked me down this restaurant. And so that is all the trivia I have for this.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Good quality trivia, Travis.
Mm-hmm. There wasn't too much. A lot of it, there was a lot of technical stuff of stunt work, and it took this long to set up this. So it was a lot of repeat trivia. So I'm going to give this one 8.5 out of 10. I very much enjoy it. I like it a lot. I'm not sure where I'll be ranking it because I need to watch. I think the ones I'm most unsure about is Death Proof and Hateful Eight, to be honest, because I've seen Kill Bill. I've seen a lot, but it's just I've not seen it when we've been kind of doing this and thinking for likes and pros and cons and being specific. But like I said, just a few things of maybe a little bit ordering. Some of the overtopness doesn't exactly work for me, but I understand that it kind of fits with it. But it's just a really enjoyable revenge flick. If I had to go and make some of the best revenge movies, it'd definitely be in the top 10. I don't know if Volume 2 is. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. This one's so memorable, it's so clear cut, but you almost need them. If there was one movie, I would still put it up there, and that's kind of what I kind of do. I know, and that's probably why it's shorter as well, is because he knew he's doing Volume 2. So really, it's an under 2 hour movie, but if you put them together, it's really one movie for me. Yeah. So that's my score, 8.5 out of 10. Very, very much enjoy this film, and I'm excited to get in the second one.
Nice. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised because, after only seeing both of them once and pretty much back to back, a little hard to differentiate what exactly happens in each one. But yeah, this one's definitely, from what I remember, my favorite kind of stuff. I know there's, off the top of my head, I can think of a couple scenes or sequences in the second movie that I didn't care for a whole lot right now. So I'm curious to see how those are on a second watch. But this one, I found that there was a good amount of details in there that I didn't notice the first time around. And there's definitely a lot of care, and I love how cheesy it is.
Mm-hmm.
I love that cheese all over my knees. It's so good. So I'm really happy with this, and I think it will end up higher in my rankings than I initially would have thought before we started recording this retro.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one is a thick 10 out of 10 for me.
Thick 10.
This is
wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Just so many things. I just eat that shit up. Like the over the top cheesiness, just the fact that it feels like an anime movie. And like, I don't know, like there's a lot of flack from like anime adaptation to live action these days, but like this is just so original and it still feels like an anime. And you know, you get anime in this movie. And it's just, you know, you get hot chicks killing each other with samurai swords. It's in Japan. I love Japan. It's just, there's so many things that I just love in this movie. Mm-hmm. Just like the red alert when like she sees someone, it just like zooms in. Yeah, the siren. It's just so good. And I really like the way that like the time, I don't know, rearranging stuff that they do. I really like it. I know you were saying that you weren't the biggest fan of like Oren's name being crossed off. For me, I really liked it, especially like going on more and more watches. I don't know, like, because this movie is Kill Bill, but like for at least volume 1, you feel like the main villain is Oren.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and like it's a big like build up to it, and like just the fact that like you know that she dies in like the very first scene. For me, it's really creative, and I really like that. And yeah, I could watch this movie over and over again. I just found out a few years ago too that the original like the original music that was in it was produced by RZA, who's a Wu-Tang member, big hip hop guy myself. So
I found that out because I watch movies with subtitles most times with having children, and every song was by somebody. Like it would have the thing, and RZA came in there a couple times.
Yeah,
so
nice. I that was something I found out not too long ago, so I had to shout that out because yeah, Wu-Tang forever.
Wu-Tang forever. Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the next episode will be obviously Kill Bill Volume 2, so you can check out that. If you want to get some of these other episodes early, head over to Patreon and go there. We got that. We have the Clone Wars Retro. All the other stuff. It's July. There's tons of stuff popping up. I'm not sure when this one will be dropping. If it's before Comic-Con, we got a stream coming up. Tons of news. If not, go back because I think we got about 5 or 6 casts releasing the week of Comic-Con. So we're just Comic-Con E3. We just churn it out for you fans.
We don't sleep, actually.
Churn that butter.
In case you were wondering.
I sometimes don't. So thank you very much for tuning in. And until next time,
Is Vida
Zane.
Vida Zane.
Did you forget,
I was a little
Kirkland?
delayed. Yeah, I was. I was like,
did you forget?
It will not be boring. And then
forget.
I just didn't hear that. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta say something.
I know, I fooled you.
You did get me.